Today, we're going to talk really briefly about how you can make more sales on Amazon by monopolizing the buy box. Okay. Now, if you aren't aware, about 9 out of every 10, roughly, sales on Amazon come from actually getting the buy box. Okay. And if you're unfamiliar with what the buy box is, it's simply that little yellow add to cart button, whereas some of the other sellers are directly underneath of that as like new or used offers as well. Right. So if you do not have that buy box, chances are you're going to struggle to sell your items, okay? So in that case, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know today about how to actually get the buy box, how Amazon shares the buy box, right? The entire algorithm, we'll break it all down. So let's jump to my computer and I'll start going over it. So like we just touched on, about 9 out of every 10 sales on Amazon come from that buy box. So it is crucial that you know how to obtain it and all the information on how Amazon actually goes about sharing it, right? So it does rotate between sellers who are eligible for it and competitively priced, okay? Having the lowest price, however, does not guarantee that you will get the buy box. The buy box price is not always the lowest price on Amazon, and that's a common misconception here, okay? It also strongly considers your location and the location, so the location of your items, whether they're, you're selling them FBM from your location or you have them in FBA warehouses, it considers the location of that item as well as the location of the person searching to potentially buy that item. Okay, we'll cover that. That's a big part of it. We'll cover a little bit more on the next slide here. So this is only for items in new condition as well, not counting books. If you're unfamiliar with what books, how to actually sell books, books actually have both buy boxes sometimes. So some book listings will have a used buy box as well as a new buy box. But for the majority of items, obviously outside of books, there's only a buy box for new items. Okay, so if you have a used like new item, then obviously on most items, you're not eligible for the buy box. So Amazon does, however, share the buy box with third-party sellers like you and me if they're also selling on the listings themselves, right? But it does not split those that share of the buy box 50-50, okay? So if you hop on a listing that Amazon's selling on, chances are they will not split it with you 50%, but they will share it with you here and there. Now, nobody knows the exact numbers of how often they share it and what those numbers are, but people have speculated that it could be as low as 10%, or as high as about 25% of the time. So make sure to factor that in when you actually see Amazon selling on a listing that you're thinking about sourcing an item for. Then you want to consider that and kind of maybe adjust your expectations accordingly. Now, that does not mean not to actually source those items necessarily, okay? It's just something to remember, and to remember to source the adequate units for that listing accordingly, okay? So a simple suggestion would be like maybe a little bit less than you originally would, and assume that those units, whatever you source, will take a little bit longer to sell than you normally would anticipate, okay? I still personally buy items, and I've covered this in other videos as well, that Amazon is on the buy box with, and they do share the buy box with me fairly frequently, but like I said, it's just something to keep in mind, so manage your expectations. Now, Amazon's algorithm basically looks at each offer on that actual product listing and all the sellers that are offering products on that listing, right? And it basically evaluates all of those offers on a few main criteria. It does factor in a few other, minor criteria here and there, and we'll cover those specifically here in a second. But the main things to keep in mind and consider, and this is about like 95% of the battle. So if you focus on these things, that's pretty much all you need to worry about, okay? So it factors in seller history and seller metrics, factors in your price, and it also factors in how fast that product from that specific seller can then be delivered to the customer. It then rewards the buy box to whatever offer it deems as the best buying option, and this is quoted directly from the terms of service. It rewards it to the best buying option for that specific customer, okay? So yes, that is the customer that's actually searching and where they're located. So if, for example, me and you are looking at the same product, okay, and we hop on Amazon at the same exact time, but maybe I'm on the East Coast and you're on the West Coast of the US, or we're on different sides of a country, right? But we are both looking at that same exact product and that same exact listing at the same exact time. It is very possible that we might both very well see different sellers and different offers on the buy box due to the location where we are and what products are available to us in FBA centers or from sellers around us quickly. You might see something that's priced $24. I might see something that's priced $26, but basically that's because Amazon has deemed that the best offer to us currently because the prices are relatively competitive with each other, and one might be, a day or two shorter delivery time because it's located in an FBA center fairly close to me, whereas the other one's all the way on the other side of the country, okay? So keep that in mind. Location is a big deal, okay? Now, Amazon does share the buy box between eligible sellers on that listing constantly, okay? So that doesn't mean like, hey, this person won the buy box, they're the buy box winner, and they're going to sell out all their units. No, it fluctuates, okay? It means basically that if you're checking on one of your listings, you might click it and very well see that another seller has that buy box, okay? And then if you click that same exact listing a minute later, well, you might now have the buy box. And that's because Amazon's constantly shifting and rewarding that buy box based on who has the specific offer and the best offer at that time period based on what the algorithm deems, okay? So it's not like, white or black, right? There's a gray area there, and it's constantly fluctuating and rewarding different sellers the buy box. So one little caveat that I'm going to add here is if you have items, don't constantly check that your item is on the buy box by looking at the listing, because then you're going to, for lack of a better way to put it, waste an opportunity for your product to then be on the buy box for another buyer when you're just checking, okay? So don't constantly check that you have the buy box, or you're basically going to be losing out opportunities to make that sale, okay, by wasting them on yourself, okay? It's the same thing like looking at your own ads when you're running advertising, right? You don't want to do that because why would you want to be charged for an ad for yourself, okay? Same idea with the buy box, okay? So then how do you actually get the buy box on Amazon, right? If we could sum it up, what are the things that you need to do? Because once we've already deemed, like once you get the buy box, you have a greater opportunity to sell. And once you kind of understand how to get on that buy box consistently, you will then consistently make more sales and make more money on Amazon, which is what we're all after, okay? So to recap, you want to price your items competitively, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to always have the lowest price in order to win it consistently, okay? Number two, remember, location matters, okay? But clearly that's not necessarily something you can control. If you're selling FBM, then you can't really change your store's location or your house's location, right? If you're shipping into FBA, sometimes you can control that, and that's something for a complete other video. But 99.9% of people are just going to ship to the FBA warehouses that they're assigned to when they go through their shipment, right? And if you guys need to know how to ship into FBA, I've covered this in an entire video as well. There's like a full 30-minute tutorial that I did on this. It's very, very helpful. I'll drop it up in the right-hand corner right now if you need to check it out, okay? So location matters, but you can't control it really most of the time, so don't worry about it, okay? Just understand that it's a main factor. And also, you want to focus on improving your seller metrics and seller feedback by simply selling a lot of stuff and getting those seller metrics up, okay? Also, you need to provide outstanding customer service and always answer buyer message quickly and ship into FBA if possible, because prime offers tend to get the buy box more frequently than non-prime offers, okay? That's not obviously counting seller fulfilled prime, but if you're going up FBA versus FBM, FBA has a huge advantage, okay? Understand that. Also understand that if you don't have it right now, you might have it in a few minutes from now, okay? So stop constantly checking it. It's always moving and rotating based on these main factors. Now, there are other certain things that Amazon does consider to kind of recap. So it also considers shipping time if you sell FBM, right? So how fast you actually ship to the customer, what kind of shipping options you're using. And that's clearly why FBA has an advantage, because FBA offers at least 2-day shipping. And often today, like sometimes stuff will come within a day or even, within a couple hours, okay? So shipping time is also something that they strongly consider. So you're going to have a huge advantage if you ship into FBA, because then they'll handle all your shipping for you and distribute it to the customer very, very quickly, okay? So you'll get that kind of boost in your ranking, and you'll also be able to get the buy box more frequently at higher price points, okay? Also, order defect rate matters, valid tracking number matters. So if you sell FBM, obviously, again, that's an advantage of FBA, because if you have FBA, the customer constantly just automatically gets a tracking number. You don't have to put that in, or make sure that you put it in as an FBM seller, okay? Late shipment rate matters, again, if you sell FBM, okay? So you're kind of seeing the trend here now, right? It's another advantage of FBA. Delivered on time, how often you deliver packages on time and when they're supposed to be. Again, if you sell FBM, so this is the same old spiel here, guys. Yep, FBA has a huge advantage here. Moral of the story, ship into FBA if possible, okay? Now, seller feedback rating also matters. Customer response time, so that's like your messages and your requests. Feedback count overall, seller to seller, matters a little bit. Your inventory depth, so how many units you actually have compared to those other sellers, is also a slight factor, as well as cancellation and refund rate. So that's pretty much everything that you need to know on how to get and maintain the buy box and give yourself the biggest advantage going forward to get the buy box more often so that you can ultimately make more sales on Amazon and make more money. I really hope that this video helped, guys. If you do appreciate the value in today's video, give it a like. I genuinely appreciate it. And it actually helps a lot more than you think. You might think like, hey, I'm only liking it once. It's not really going to make that big of a deal. But it actually does go a long way to help me out a lot and help the video with the YouTube algorithm. So I really, really appreciate that, guys. With that being said, I will see you in the next one.